The Ruinous Powers, or more commonly referred to as the Chaos Gods, are powerful entities belonging to the psychic dimension known as the Warp. Each god birthed and sustained by the sole emotion that they represent. These emotions originate from every living being from the materium, also known as real space. By nature, each Chaos God remains devoted to the single emotion or concept that they represent. This is due to their existence being solely dependent on the emotions of the mortal creatures that power them. Khorne, the Blood God, is the Chaos God of anger, violence, and hate. Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, is the Chaos God of change. Nurgle, the Plague Father, is the Chaos God of decay. And Slaanesh, the Dark Prince, is the Chaos God of lust, excess, and all forms of hedonism, also being the youngest of the major Chaos Gods. The birth of each Gods of Chaos would be followed by untold destruction, thematic to the Chaos God. Khorne, being the mightiest and oldest of the Chaos Gods, came into being during Terra's warring Middle Ages in the second millennium. His birth followed endless wars and conflicts that raged across Terra. The birth of Tzeentch is very much up for debate, with current archives contributing his birth to the maturing of human nations and politics in the second millennium. The countless intrigues and dealings in politics also attributes to his strong interest in humanity, and how very few other mortal races could match in terms of ambition and volatility. The third of the Chaos Gods to be born is the Plague Father, Nurgle. Emerging in the second millennium, his birth was heralded by great plagues that swept across the human nations. And of the four, Nurgle is also the most directly involved with the plight of all mortal beings, specifically that of the fear of death and decay. Slaanesh, the fourth and final of the Chaos Gods to be born, was brought into existence in the 25th millennium. As the Eldari Empire reached its peak development, the Eldari became lost in their own indulgences. With no need for labor or war, each member of the empire became solely devoted to hedonistic access, devolving into little more than pleasure cults. All this would culminate on a particularly depraved night. During the fall of the Eldar, Slaanesh would awaken, his birth scream creating a tsunami of emotions and psychic energies across the realm of chaos as it shaped a new dominion to serve as the new Chaos God's home. This psychic implosion broke the barrier between the materium and immaterium realm, opening a massive warp rift now known as the Eye of Terror. Spanning an area of almost 20,000 light-years across, the eruption of the Eye of Terror would unfortunately originate from the very center of the Eldari Empire. This allowed Slaanesh to draw in the spirits of billions of Eldari into the warp to be consumed, nearly wiping out their race. This feast also weakened the gods of the Eldari pantheon, with Slaanesh focusing his attention on them next. Slaughtering most of the Eldari pantheon, only 3 Eldari gods were known to have survived. Khane, the Eldari god of war, was shattered into 1,000,000 pieces, his survival due to the intervention of Khorne, himself a chaos god of war, who wanted to absorb the Eldari god himself. Isha, the mother of the Eldari race and goddess of fertility, would be saved from Slaanesh by Nurgle, who fought against his newest peer and emerged victorious to claim Isha as his prize. And Kagarak, the Eldari laughing god, who survived due to his mocking nature, distancing him from the corruption and decadence, allowing him to escape into the webway while Slaanesh and Khane did battle. Demons, as we know them, are fragments of a Chaos God's consciousness, collectively forming the legions of their respective Chaos Gods, battling across both the materium and immaterium. Legions of Khorne are known as the Blood Legions, the largest of the demonic armies of the Immaterium. Though savage in the face of battle, they abide by a strict hierarchy, determined solely by martial prowess. Each of the Blood Legions are led by a Khorne Greater Demon, known as Bloodthirsters, and each legion is organized into 8 cohorts, each of which are led by a Demon Prince or Herald of Khorne. Though they specialize primarily in melee combat, there exists variants within their ranks, such as the Red Tide Legion Bloodletters that overrun their foes in waves of attacks, the Hellfire Legion that specializes in siege warfare and demonic engines, and the Brazen Thunder Legion, the most mobile of Khorne's legions, made up of Blood Crushers, Blood Thrones, and Fleshhound packs. Tzeentchian armies are known as the Scintillating Legions, hordes that enter any battle in a bizarre carnival-like manner, utilizing devastating and sorcerous magic. Unlike the legions of Khorne or Nurgle, Tzeentchian legions never remain constant, always changing and adapting to situations to best serve their master. Each legion is led by a Tzeentchian Greater Demon known as a Lord of Change, divided into 9 hosts, and each host directed in battle by a Demon Prince or Herald of Tzeentch. Several known Tzeentchian legions include the Pyroclastic Conclave, also known as the Conflagration Legion, built around the fiery destructive force of demonic flamers. The Legion's Anarchus, which depends wholly on unpredictability, appearing in random and unexpected incursions, and the Veiled Legions, the most mysterious of all Tzeentchian legions, who would almost never appear, and would often leave unseen once their purpose had fully culminated. The Plague Father's legions are called the Plague Legions, each associated with a specific stage of Nurgle's cycle of decay. Each Plague Legion is led by a Nurglite Greater Demon, called a Great Unclean One, with each legion divided into 7 Talibands, each Taliban led by a Demon Prince or Herald of Nurgle, and each Taliban being composed of 7 packs of both lesser demons and demonic beasts. Beginning with the Fecundus legions, they are tasked with the making of disease, traveling across the warp in search of the various ingredients needed. The Infecticus legions are the carriers of disease, laying the groundwork for the legions that are to come after. The Pathogenous legions are those that are disease in bloom, often deployed to both guard key locations or to spearhead assaults. The Epidemic Legion, containing the most demons of any Nurgle legions spread outwards, securing any virulent outbreaks. The Rot Legions, tasked to break down anything in order to cultivate the expansion for the Garden of Nurgle. The Morbidus Legions are Reapers, Toll Takers, and Bringers of Death for Nurgle. And the Necroticus Legions, the most resilient of all, utilizing hopelessness and despair and able to absorb even the most overwhelming of punishments. Unlike the armies of the other Chaos Gods, Slaanesh would prefer to use temptation in order to seduce both mortals and demons alike. Many have fallen to the Dark Prince. However, this tactic would often take time, and Slaanesh is not without a less subtle approach. When force is required, he would call upon his demonic armies, the Legions of Excess. Striking with sinuous grace, the Legions of Excess are described to hit their foes in a whirling blur of graceful and bladed limbs, doing so in horrific yet alluring fashion. Each legion being commanded by a Slaaneshi Greater Demon known as a Keeper of Secrets, though there are known favored demon princes that would often take up the mantle. Each divided into 6 cavalcades, and each cavalcade commanded by a demon prince or herald of Slaanesh. The first of the Slaaneshi armies are the Flayer Legions, a great many demonettes or maidens of ecstasy that would bring untold destruction to battle. The Hunter Legions are fast-moving cavalry and chariots, known to be masters of the quick kill, often used to track down specific prey. The most flamboyant of the Slaaneshi armies are the Gladiatrix Legions, heavily employing sorcerous psychic powers. The Terror Legions are the Shock Legion, known to utilize especially gory displays of combat, unleashing a barrage upon the senses. What could be seen as a jack of all trades, even when compared to other demonic legions, are the Legions of Eternal Punishment, having no specialty and calling upon any and all the damnations of Slaanesh, mixing the many facets of magic and temptation together with their battlecraft, and the strangest of all legions, the Khorne Legions, ones that see the battle as a dance. Their strength lies not with tactics or brute force, but rather a bizarrely choreographed formation, seeing to each kill with elegance and creativity that would often capture the favor of their divine master. For all their horrors and devastation intended towards the mortal realm, the Chaos Gods are strangely in an internal rivalry with one another, constantly at war in both the materium and immaterium, vying for more power. While the irony of their goal of total domination is shared, the absolute power gained from it isn't. This struggle is known as the Great Game, being the conceptual embodiment of chaos, for if all other warp powers were destroyed, the warp would become still, and chaos itself would cease to exist. Though they are not against uniting against a common foe, such would remain a rare occurrence. One such moment was during the rise of the Imperium of Man, when the gods united to engineer the wars of the Horus Heresy. The Great Game remains one of the sole reasons that despite their overwhelming numbers, they were never able to gain a notable foothold in the mortal realm.